I would say at the top of this year, I did what every business owner does. We sit down and we make our goals
Mhm.
and we make our big, audacious timelines of what's going to happen. And even in the midst of an accident, even when I was still recovering from surgery, I sat down and I made it. And as you do, you put it in the notebook or wherever you have put it, and you set it down. And maybe some of us leave it for a few days. And when I came back, I went in with a permanent marker and I scratched out every single thing because I realized that I had just spent the last year burning myself out. I had spent the last year resenting my business. I had spent the last year working with people that I didn't really align to.
Mhm.
And all of that was on the paper was going to do that to me again.
Guys, I just had the most amazing conversation with Kallai Plummer. She is the host of the podcast, The Big CEO Energy, and she is a virtual COO, systems whiz, and business operations strategist. There are so many nuggets in there, but one of my favorites is she talked about reading a book that just transformed her life, and it was called Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy. I can't wait for you guys to hear her story and how that completely impacted her life. Let's get to the episode. I love the background that you chose over there. Very cozy vibe aesthetic. I was reading through your bio and I know that my listeners are going to love hearing all about your expertise, but I wanted to just start. What's a win that you've had this week?
A win that I have had this week is I think I've finally gotten to a place with my business and sort of who I am is showing up every day in grace and ease, even when I have a jam-packed day. There's a huge difference between showing up and doing all the things and doing all of this busy work that really doesn't contribute to the greater vision and the greater picture. And I used to spend a lot of time doing those things. And I have a little bit of a backstory that goes with that we could or could not get into, but
Let's hear
um,
it.
it's just over the last 100 days, it's been this slow transformation for me. And, I'm coming up 5 years post, I call it 5 years post corporate, um,
That's
where it's
great.
just, you finally feel like at the end of the day, even when you're tired, there's this breath of washing that comes over you that you're just like, today was a good day. Today was a good day, and you can be exhausted
I
and
love
it
that.
still be a really good day. So that's a win that I had yesterday, but also this week because it's only Thursday,
It's only Thursday. Exactly. So I want to hear the rest of that backstory, but I
Okay.
also want to take a dive at some point after into, 5 years post corporate and
Hmm.
what that looked like for you during that transition, because we have a lot of people who are in the middle of that. I call it the messy middle. And I
Yes.
did a podcast episode about that a couple of weeks ago, just what that looks like, because it gets worse before it gets better when you're building something for yourself and you're still in corporate.
For
So
sure.
let's start with the backstory. Tell me about the Grace and Ease and your journey to
Sure.
it.
I had a pretty traumatic accident for me, October of this year. And a small kind of lead up to this is I have ridden horses my whole entire life. And I had a 20-year period of break in that. I was a mom, I was getting my career under me, life was happening. Life was
Yes.
lifing. And so I went a long period without it and I finally had gotten myself in a position and a relationship and all of the things that my husband said, listen, you have either got to stop talking about getting a horse or you've got to get a horse. Like That is just, you've got to make a decision because
Yes.
I love you and I love hearing about your vigor about wanting to get back into horses, but it doesn't happen unless you take a first step. So I did. I took a chance on a horse and it's been a beautiful 3 years. And I am a smallish person, and she is a very large
What
being.
kind of horse is she?
She's a thoroughbred and she is 16 hands tall and about 1,300 pounds. So she's a big mama.
She
Like
is a
she,
big mama.
she's a big
I'm a horse
girl.
person. I have two
Oh,
myself. So,
yes, girl. Okay. So, you know,
oh yes.
um, so I've been on this rehab journey with her for 3 years and, we could talk all about that, but we're not going to. October 12th, her and I went down, and I completely tore my ACL, my LCL, and I thought I had a torn meniscus at the time.
Oh my
And
goodness.
people might look at this and go, people tear their ACLs every day. But when it is the first injury you've ever had and the only other surgery in your life that you've had that has been super invasive is giving birth to a child, it's a little
Yes.
traumatic. And I didn't
Totally.
realize how traumatic it was actually going to be. And so it really sat me down in my seat and got me to reprioritize life and
Mm,
reprioritize how fast and how, air quotes, busy I was
right.
in my life.
Mm,
And during that time, I will be 40 this year. And so when I looked at it, 40 is kind of like a big, it's a pivotal time in a woman's life. It just is. And coming up on 40, I'm like, great. I have this injury now that I don't have a surgery date until January 9th for. So we're talking from October to January. I'm now having to go into physical therapy and all the things. And I have a wonderful small circle of humans that I show up on Clubhouse with every day. We've been rocking it since Clubhouse came alive. And uh, she had offered up just a small book journey. And the book is called Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy by Matthew Kelly. And I thought, yeah, sure, I'll do it. What else am I doing?
I'm slowing down is what I'm doing.
I'm not driving anywhere. I'm going to PT. I'm sitting in my recliner because I can't stand to sit in my desk. And working on my business. Those are the things that Callie has going on in her life. Like thankfully my kids are grown because I don't even know what I would be doing. And so I was like, yes, absolutely. And I didn't realize how much this book would change my life. And true to the words, slowing down to the speed of joy meant way more than I ever could have imagined, not just in my personal life, but in my business, the way I show up in my business. And it truly is kind of this mindset that I've uncovered for myself. And so it's been this beautiful journey of finding who I am again. I am transition in midlife. So I have uh, a blended family of 3 kids. We have an older son who lives in Texas with his mother, and we have my husband also has a daughter who's our youngest. She is graduating high school in May and moving across the country to come with us. And then I have my own daughter who is kind of the middle child now. She's in her freshman year of college. And so I've arrived at this point in life where we're not raising babies anymore. We get to discover who we are. And that's that's what I'm doing in my life and in my business. And it's been really fun. It's been really fun.
So what was the like one key takeaway from that book that you would want to share with if you can distill it down into one key takeaway?
So the simple one thing that I could give out of this book, and it's a quote from him. He says, "To slow down to the speed of joy, we need to build margin into our days."
Oh, okay. How have you applied that?
I'm really, really good at saying no. Like 2025 was my year to just, nope,
No.
not available.
No.
And no is a complete sentence. And we hear this all the time, right? It's so cliche that people are like, oh, it's just so easy to say no. But when you are just so conditioned to all the things all the time, and when I had my accident, I was forced to delegate things that I would otherwise just do myself. Grocery pickup is a thing. Grocery delivery is a thing. It is worth the $8 sometimes to
Totally.
do the delivery, like putting things on autopilot. We have animals. It's like, oh great, auto ship. Chewy. Chewy is my new favorite friend. But it was the ask of my family.
Mm,
In our household, it's very much like everybody just kind of takes care of themselves. We're all pretty independent people. We all sort of pitch in and keep the house running. And so who my husband is a saint of a man, I had to have a real and honest conversation of like, I can't bend down to do the kitty litter, my friend. Like small, simple things, but then it's turned into this expansiveness of building out margin into my day to say no to other things and really prioritize that if I'm asked to do something or contribute to something or show up in a certain way, there's a pause that needs to come before the answer.
I love that.
And the pause is, I would really love to think about that. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Let me look at my schedule. Right? These are all of these small phrases that we seem to forget when we're all hyped up and we're like, yes, we want to do the, and we genuinely want to do the thing, right? We genuinely want to help the other person. But can we? With everything else that we have going on in our day, like, is that a thing? Have you considered? Is something that I always carry with me now. And I always say to myself is, have I considered everything else that's in my calendar? And if I haven't considered it, who am I to say to this person, yes, absolutely, I'll do the thing? I don't even know. Like I haven't even looked at my calendar yet. And you're saying, yes, excuse me? No. And sometimes it's starting with a no with yourself of, nope, we are full stop. We are going to slow down. We are going to understand what is being asked and the time frame. And can I come back to you? And nobody's going to be like, no, I'm sorry. I need an answer right now. That's not a thing. And if they
That's
are, then that's a no right
immediate
away.
no, hard
Immediate
pass.
no. Yeah. Yeah.
That is such a great reminder because it is the just natural progression to say yes and then figure it out later and then make yourself absolutely miserable when you're in the moment of like, sure, I can take on one more thing. But are you really showing up in the way that you want to show up, in the level of
Absolutely.
quality that you want to?
Yeah.
That's very powerful. So I know that you are a virtual COO and a systems whiz and just an operational strategist here. Tell me how you got there.
So I had built a career in HR, specifically in the recruiting space. And in the corporate sort of positions that I was in, was a lot of figure it out for yourself
Okay.
and getting thrown into the deep end, which I'm sure we all have experienced at some position in our life.
Yes.
It's hi, hello, thank you for coming in. Here's your handbook. And also, we're really behind. Can you start running at 100 mile an hour right now? And I lived my career like that. I was a single mom for a really long time. And I went to school when she was little and worked 3 jobs and went to school 21 credit hours. And so I had already been building my life of just, yeah, figure it out. Yeah,
On the
just
go.
figure it out.
Mhm.
And so when I graduated college and got my air quote first big girl job, I was already prepared for what was coming down the streamline. And so I built a life of chasing the next tier, chasing the next dollar, right? Chasing the next salary bracket that I could put myself in, and found myself really burned out. Imagine.
Imagine that.
Imagine.
Wow.
And when I was on the cusp of burnout, my branch that I had been managing actually was going through a shutdown and I lost my job. And I came home and I said to my husband, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I'm going to give myself this unemployment time to figure it out. So I started kind of virtual assisting, if that was even a thing then, and trying to kind of put together the parts and pieces of what it even means to build a business. I had no idea, no idea what I was doing. I knew I had to like get an LLC and do the stuff and things, the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
So people don't come after you. And so when I started putting it together, that was right around the time that I was still in this mind frame of, but I've got to work in an office. Like I was, I am from the generation that you go to college, you get a 4-year degree, you show up in an office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 in your heels and your business suit, and you work 30 years and you get your pension and ta-da, you've made it. And then your life begins and you can travel and do the things. And I just like now looking back at it, I giggle because I was using all of my PTO to travel. Like, who is she to not, it's just, you find out some things when you look back on your career. And so when I decided to chase again the office, I'm like, I'm going to do something different. Commercial insurance sounds really fun.
Does it
Anybody,
though?
oh my gosh, anybody that knows me, they're like, really? Commercial insurance?
I
My
don't know you, and it
personality.
does not sound like fun.
Yeah, no. And so here I am in an office doing the thing, pounding the keyboard, living life. And COVID happened.
Okay.
And that really was the rude awakening of girlfriend. I was sent home, everyone, with a box with a full blown computer in it because I was working for a company that was so antiquated that they still wanted their salespeople to show up in an office.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you heard that right. Yeah. So this is what I was working with. And I said to my husband, I've got to get out of here. This is not the place for me. This is not the place for me. Clubhouse happened. And I was on Upwork, as you do as a freelancer.
Yes.
You
figure it
that's a
out.
place. You figure it out.
You figure it out.
Everything is figure outable. And I met a person and she was like, yes, I have a client and we would love to bring you on board and all the things. And so that was kind of like my first opening. And then Clubhouse happened and she invited me onto Clubhouse. And back then, right, it was the place where now that's where you're making your money. We are now transitioning into making sales online. We are not, if we're salespeople, we're not going door to door. We have to show up in this audio app to sort of self-proclaim who we are, what we're doing, how I can serve you. And so I just started getting in networking groups. And 2 weeks later, I came home and I said to my husband, I think I need to quit my job because I have contracts out there that if they all sign and I take them on, I am tripling my salary and I can't work there anymore.
Talk to me about Clubhouse. I'm not on Clubhouse. I'm not super
Oh,
familiar with Clubhouse. I just need to know what this is. And I'm
it's a
sure.
jam. Mhm.
Okay. So
It's great. So back then it was like really, and I say back then, COVID is 5 years ago. It's fine. But back then it was really kind of the hype place where, I mean, you would meet people all over the world. I have met so many incredible people, meant air quotes, because it's an audio only app. So you show up and all you have is your voice. And you have a little bio that you can put in, things about you, links. And so people would put in their bio, this is how I serve and this is where you can find me. And so Callie building her business, I'm like, well, I can build a website, which I did in 2 days, and I put it on there. And I just kind of started uncovering and matching my skill set to what I already was doing in all of these positions. And I'm like, there is a need here, and it's being transitioned over to women in business who don't have a person to help them figure out how to get their business off the ground and or how to scale it in such a way from an operational level where they're not feeling the burnout. So I started to put together all of these sort of service offerings, if you will, and meet the need of someone that is beyond a virtual assistant, beyond an OBM, even that can really come in with a business owner and be the right hand person, like an operations manager, and go, okay, I'm going to take your vision, and this is what we need to do to make it beautiful. And these are the people we need to have on the docket to do the thing. And it's out into the world. And I didn't realize at the time that as I was starting to transition what I was already doing in all of my positions over to the conversations that I was having in Clubhouse, that started to resonate with people. So in this audio only format, you get to put on a picture, you
Okay.
get to put in a bio, and you get to have conversations with people. And that's all it is. There's no feed of pictures. People have quote unquote houses. So it's Clubhouse. And so you have a house and you go into their room and they have a virtual stage, if you will. So you come up, you unmute your mic, you talk, you have conversations with people. And that's what it is.
This is fascinating.
Mhm.
This is unlike anything that I've ever heard. I have not done anything on Clubhouse. I'm very curious, certain applications, as an entrepreneur does. I know you help women who feel like they're stuck in their business and not able to work on their business. How do you generate leads, I guess, through Clubhouse and make these connections with people?
So now I only show up on Clubhouse in a cup of joy room Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't do any marketing or anything really out of my business now. It's now I've gotten to a place where it's really word of mouth.
Okay.
And my incredible clients, they see a need and they always are gracious enough to talk about me and refer me to other people. But back then, I had to really understand what my skills were in what I was already doing. And I started doing a lot of research on what do these like virtual people do? How do we transition? Because I knew what showing up in an office looked like and working on a computer there, right? But how do we now serve people in cyberspace? That concept for my millennial brain just was a little bit mind boggling. And so I had to spend some time with me and the old Google machine to understand, like, what are people offering? Like, how is this even happening? And then I thought, well, I can do that. Like, I can meet with people via Zoom, my clients. I can understand what their problems are. I can learn these applications online, right? It's just about transitioning these skills. And then I really did some research on, like, what are people offering? Like, how are they packaging this to sell? Because I have no clue. And this is where market research comes in, right? This is when we are, as business owners, trying to understand how we can match our skills to the market, this is what people are talking about. We have to use the Google machine to understand how to put the pieces together. And so I left Clubhouse for a whole day and did some deep dive research, put together kind of my website, like packaged myself in such a way that I felt comfortable. I didn't want to show up as someone other than myself. And I didn't want to have to be the person that is like, oh, yeah, I can do that, and then scramble to figure it out. Right. Sometimes in life we have to do that because we're being asked to do things and we're like, yeah, as long as you have a mind frame that can figure it out, absolutely. So I had to really go back to the basics of like, what do I know? How do I do these things in an office setting? Okay, now I'm doing them for folks that actually need them. And I started showing up in networking rooms that were either circled around the focus being, who are you? What do you serve? What kind of client are you looking for? Those rooms were really helpful. You would just show up with, I mean, there was hundreds of people in these rooms. You would just show up in this room and they would just boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, like it's connected to Instagram. So they would send DMs of, "Oh my gosh, can I have a conversation with you? Can I have a conversation with you?" And I'm like, "What is happening? Clearly there is a need somewhere and I have found it. Great. Fantastic for me." And so it just took off like wildfire, and I'm so entirely grateful because I would never have been able to leave corporate without that. And I know that I am the exception to the rule of building a business. And I'm so very grateful for it. But people need to understand that you don't literally show up with clients overnight. That is one focus that I do want people to hear out of this conversation that we're having is, some businesses take a really long time to build. And I truly feel grateful for my experience for sure.
So, how did you end up packaging yourself? Tell us more about what it looks like, how you create the joy and the margin in your life while still showing up well for your clients.
Sure. So that was a roller coaster of a ride.
Mhm.
I have a small story that I tell now, that last year I spent probably 90% of my time living in a scarcity mindset
Mhm.
and living in the fear of, what if I don't hit six figures this year? What if I don't insert whatever? And I lived in the what if. And what happened was is I had put so much onto my plate. I had hired a team. I had, gotten in the mind frame of, I'm going to scale my business and I'm going to be an agency and I'm going to do all the things. And it broke me.
Mm.
I mentally was worn out. I physically was worn out. My marriage was suffering to the point that my husband was raising his hand and saying, like, what about me? What about us? And on top of all of that, I decided somewhere along the way, August, to start a micro bakery
Plot
because
twist.
that's what you do when you're quote unquote bored. Um, life
I'm sorry,
crisis.
I don't mean to laugh. It's just
No, I laugh all the time about it. It's like, just start another business when you're feeling overwhelmed in one. It's fine.
I relate
Please
to that
don't
so
ever do
much.
that. Please don't do that. So it was really kind of the accident that brought it all to a head. And it had started long before that. I can look back on the last year and know that I was killing myself.
Mm.
I was mentally putting myself in the sand and the universe, God, whatever you believe in, it will circle back around and it will shut you down. That is a real thing. And so over the last 4 years prior to that, building my business, I was packaging my services based on how I was growing. And so I knew that I didn't fit in the box of a VA because I don't really like being told what to do. I wasn't really an OBM because I
Let's break
have a
down that
skill
acronym
set.
for folks.
Okay, yes. Online business manager.
Thank you.
So it basically is where you are a little bit more than a VA. You do more business managing activities. But beyond that, I really found myself in a position with a lot of my clients that they needed someone that was a little bit more well rounded in the sense that we're taking this 500-foot view and we're really scaling it down even to like what is the trajectory of day by day, and for some business owners, they really need somebody, especially if you're a visionary, to come in and say, yes, this is your vision. This is how it looks on paper. This is the action items that need to happen. These are the people, systems, processes that need to support this. And then this is what I need from you. And hopefully, what we need from the business owner is this much compared to the vision that is this big. So, understanding that that was kind of how my brain functions as well, and how I build systems and tools to support what is happening, I knew that this virtual COO, you can give yourself any title that you want in life, people. I'm just saying. But I knew that, the actions that I had been contributing in corporate to this same title mixed with sort of my HR experience and all of the things that you collect in your toolbox as you grow your career. These were the things that women in business were showing up to me going, I have a dream. I don't know how to build it. I don't even know like what the day to day looks like and I need help. And I'll share with you she's been with me since Clubhouse. I met her on Clubhouse. Liz, shout out to Liz at Amplifier. She came to me with Google spreadsheets and 5 contractors.
Okay.
And she said, I want to build a copywriting agency. I want to build a place where people can come and write, get paid for it, and not have to fight for the next dollar. And I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we just started building. And now the top of this year, well, summer of last year, we hired our 3rd full-time employee. We do have some contractors, and I think she's on track to make $1 million this year.
Amazing.
So it's, again, taking what we already know, understanding how to put it in ways that people understand what your expertise is and how you can actually help them. And sometimes that's doing a little homework yourself of like, I don't even know how I can help people. You do know how you can help people. Sometimes it's just honestly sitting down and writing a list of all of the things that you have been doing in corporate,
Mm-hmm.
setting the list down, coming back the next day, look at it from a 500-foot view and go, yeah, okay,
I can do this.
I can do this.
One of the things that my mom says all the time, and one of my favorite quotes of her, I got in trouble because she's like, you claimed that. I'm like, I didn't claim it. I just omitted you from it. So, Mom, my apologies for former episodes. This is yours. And she says, no training is ever wasted.
Yeah.
And I could not agree more because I can look back even, high school, college, and beyond my corporate career. I was a COO, and I use something from each and every part of my journey and what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a fellow COO, folks,
Mm-hmm.
systems, processes, automations, what are 2 to 3 of your productivity tools of choice for somebody who's running an online business?
I would say if you are looking for something that can do all the things, I have really grown to know and love Go High Level. That has been one of my Krispy Kreme.
You
It
just love
just
it.
it just has all the things. It has all the bells and whistles. It has an email CRM. It has, a sales pipeline that you can build. You can build all the things in there. There are a few glitches in there that I don't love, but you are never going to find the perfect platform.
Mm.
You never will. But what it did for a lot of my clients is it removed all of this connection stuff that we had to make happen.
Yes.
Right. So sometimes if you're functioning in, active campaign, and then you have a Dubsado, and then you have, maybe a Zoom, and I don't even know all the things,
Calendly,
right? Calendly, right? Like you have all of these little things that just need to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Zapier is wonderful for connecting all the little dots, which is great. But like most other things, that can break down too, right? Sometimes we experience it daily in one of my other clients. Sometimes it shuts off and you have no entire functioning of your things. It just does, right? Like nothing is ever perfect, but that is one thing that I really have come to live and breathe in. I've actually gotten majority of my clients on board
Okay.
with going over to Go High Level because it's easy to set up most of the time, as long as you don't have super complicated things. And one of the other things that I really love is Active Campaign. Like that is another one. I just
We
really
use
enjoy
Active
it.
Campaign.
It's just so good, you know? And again, like everything, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles sometimes that you're looking for, and you've got to make adjustments. And one of the other things that I really enjoy is Aweber for a little more of a low cost situation. It's not as robust as Active Campaign, but it does give you a lot of the components and offers a lot of the same things. So on the back end of my business, I will never forego without a task management system. If you don't have a task management system that is not on paper, I love paper and pen. Don't get me wrong. I have it on my desk right now. However, when you're working with a team, it has to be a little more. And so if you have a team, one of the things that we have built Amplifier to is utilizing monday.com. And monday.com, she's clapping. Monday.com is really, really good, especially if in the copywriting space, right? When you're dealing with multiple clients and outside the copywriting space too. But when you are dealing with clients that are requesting things from you and you are looking for a platform that just needs a place that they can come in and put that in for themselves, and you can set up automations on the background. And what is really helpful on our end, especially for Amplifier, is we have writers that they only have access to their boards, right? So both of the boards talk to each other. It's really, really fun to kind of get in the weeds and build automations. I could talk about this all day long, but it's a simple and easy way to get everybody in a hub where this is the most crucial time for you as a business owner to have a place that you can come in and come out of. And when you come in, you can see what is happening moment by moment in action live. And that is the thing that I really love to build for people is the ease of it all, right? Like just showing up to a place where you're like, yeah, you can see what is done and what's not done and where exactly it is. I love that. But Asana is really my go-to for a free version also. So I always like to kind of meet my business owners where we're at. Sometimes we'll start on Asana because, hey, that's what we're rocking with. You got to live in the free sometimes and the low cost versions. And there's no shame in that whatsoever. As long as you know how to make it talk to each other, that's the important part.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the automation behind it so that you don't feel like you're logging into 16 different websites. That's the piece that needs to come. So those are some basic tools. And, if you're a podcaster and editor and, you can't afford a whole podcast team and all the things, Descript is a wonderful tool. I love it so much. You just get in and it's so easy to edit. So I'm all about the low cost and the free, but there's options for everybody in whatever scale you have.
I'm with you 100%. So, in the short term rental space where most of my clients live, we preach systems, processes, automations as well. And we have a very specific short term rental tech stack, which is connecting Airbnb and Verbo and all of the things into a property management software with a calendar. But we just launched a course at the end of last year that was called STR Teams on Autopilot. And the entire thing is based off of Monday.com. And
Amazing.
it's how to start hiring VAs and how to have a dashboard to really get yourself that time freedom, which is what I love about what you do is coming in and helping business owners take their vision, their big vision, and bringing it down to the day to day, but also like removing themselves from that part of it, because that's why we all get into this anyways, whether it's, a copywriting business or a short-term rental business or, any type of online space. It's to have the time freedom. Like, the money is great, but the time freedom to spend with your family, to slow down, do what you enjoy, pick up horseback riding again, whatever that looks like, only you can determine your why. But there are people and experts out there who have done it before, gone before you, built out those systems, processes, and automations that want to help you get there faster and
Right.
help you avoid those expensive mistakes.
Yeah.
So we ask everyone a question, and it's, what's a time in your life where change has brought an unexpected opportunity?
I would say at the top of this year, I did what every business owner does. We sit down and we make our goals
Hmm.
and we make our big, audacious timelines of what's going to happen. And even in the midst of an accident, even when I was still recovering from surgery, I sat down and I made it. And as you do, you put it in the notebook or wherever you have put it, and you set it down. And maybe some of us leave it for a few days. And when I came back, I went in with a permanent marker and I scratched out every single thing.
Wow.
Because I realized that I had just spent the last year burning myself out. I had spent the last year resenting my business. I had spent the last year working with people that I didn't really align to.
Hmm.
And all of that was on the paper was going to do that to me again. And when I removed the pressure of what was happening, ironically enough, 6 weeks later, we're getting inquiries with people that are at my heart's desire, like businesses that I truly love what they do and who they are as humans. And I afforded myself the opportunity to build margin in my day to go back to the writing space. And I had built my life to just kind of stuff it away.
Hmm.
I was going to be an English major in college, turned out not to be that. I am a wordsmith. I love creative writing. I love all of the things. And when I took all of those goals away, I wrote down, I want to write a book. And that was all I wrote. And I just thought, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen, but I'm going to make that happen. And one thing it forced me to do was restructure how I'm showing up in my day. I'm
Hmm.
spending 3 hours with myself in the morning now. If you haven't read the book by Cal Newport, I'm forgetting what it's called. Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Okay.
I encourage you to pick it up because it will reinvent how you show up in your day, even if you are working a job, right? Even if you have a career and you're wanting to transition out of it, there is margin in your day that you can be with yourself. You have to find it. And sometimes it's getting up at 4 a.m. every day when your husband goes out to work. Sometimes that's it. So when I decided that the goal was to take care of me this year, I also was taking care of my business. And I
It's
didn't
powerful.
realize that until I was starting to get the clients that were so dreamy show up at my front door.
Can you say that one more time? That when you were taking care of you, you were also taking care of your business. Wow,
When I was taking care of myself, I'm also taking care of my business.
that's just so powerful. And in the hustle and grind culture that is so prevalent out
Oh,
there, finding that balance and just learning to receive and take care of you, because then you're able to show up as your best self and attract the type of client that is meant for you. I love that.
yeah. I just did a podcast episode a couple weeks ago talking about, the Grant Cardones of the world, all of the public speakers. They are lovely humans. They have made their bread and butter and they have a lot to say, and it is wonderful. But we often get on this bandwagon and chase after whatever it is that they're doing. And again, it's this saying no to ourselves, right? Of no, I don't have to consume that content. I have to understand what I need.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not Grant Cardone's message. Sometimes it's not, um, Simon Sinek. Sometimes it's not these people. What it is you showing up at the Google machine, trying to understand how you can build yourself
Mhm.
outside of all of that noise. Our society is built in such a way where it's so loud. You pick up your phone and how naturally do you just go to Facebook and start scrolling or Instagram and start scrolling? It's like an automatic response that we do. Like we've just conditioned ourselves to consume. And what we don't realize is there is power in sitting in silence. There is power in sitting in a dark room with just you and a candle and a notebook. So I would encourage all of you to do that.
And the book you recommended was Deep Work,
Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Cal Newport, and the other one from
Mhm.
earlier.
Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy by Matthew Kelly. See, I'm holding it up to you, but you can't see
Tell our
it.
listeners where they can find you.
Sure. So I am thecallandco.com. I am also on Instagram, _ Cal and Co. That's usually where you can find me. I don't post. I haven't posted in quite some time, but my DMs are always open. I am a consumer, not a content creator at the moment. So that is lovely. And on Facebook, Kallai Plummer, if you want to find me there. But my email is always open as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.